Hey, Trevor here with Jones Home Collective. I've got a bunch of kids. They're all millennials. So I hit up my oldest daughter, Rachel. She's 27. And I said, what's a video you would actually watch? And this is what she said.
Dad, I love you, but you're not getting grandbabies until I move to a shack in the Midwest where I'll have spare change for diapers. Babies can't happen in this economy, Dad. I mean, unless you have some sage advice for a poor millennial like myself.
Right now, housing prices are higher than they've ever been. Higher than they were at their peak in 2005 before the crash. Millennials are getting out of college with $100,000 in student loans, and they're having a hard time finding jobs. There's just not enough jobs out there, it seems, for those that are looking and those that are qualified. And there's more millennials living with their parents than any other time in history. So how do you get your first house if you're a millennial and fresh out of school? Is it possible? Well, I sat down with Jenny Sherman, one of our preferred lenders, and got some answers. The first thing you're going to need to buy a house, unless you got a rich uncle that's going to give you cash to buy it, you got to be able to finance it. To finance a house, you've got to have credit. It doesn't have to be perfect. You need about a 620 score minimum to get into an FHA loan, which is a great loan I'll talk about a little bit later. So how do you establish credit? What if you don't have any credit? What if you're one of those smart kids that paid cash for their car and never used a credit card? Well, unfortunately, they punish you for being frugal and not going into debt. If you don't have a credit card, if you've never had any credit at all, you don't really have a credit score. So to develop a credit score, you've got to get some credit. It's best to get a couple kinds of credit. You want a revolving line and an installment line of credit. A credit card would be a revolving line. You charge it up, you pay it off, you charge it up, pay it off. That's a revolving line. An installment loan is a loan that has a set monthly payment with a set termination date. So at the end of the term, you're done paying it off. That's an installment loan, like a car payment or a house payment. So if you can get both those kinds of credit going, you're going to be in good shape. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do is make sure you make all your payments on time. That's probably the most critical thing in building your credit score, is making timely payments. Another huge factor they look at is the amount of credit you're using. If you have a revolving line of credit, a credit card or multiple credit cards, you have them maxed out, that's going to kill your score. If you want to improve your score, pay everything down. When you do have a credit card, it's okay to use it if you pay it off every month. A good rule of thumb is if you don't have the cash to buy something, don't buy it. If you can afford it, you got the money in the bank, go ahead and put it in your credit card, but pay it off immediately. Another factor the credit bureaus look at is the number of years you've had credit. If you have no credit right now, get a credit card. Go do a little research, find one that's got a low percentage rate and low or no annual fees. Get that card and start using it and paying it off every month. And the last thing is the number of inquiries you have. How many times you have your credit checked by a credit bureau or by a potential lender? If you have a bunch of inquiries, it's not so good for you, but it's not a huge factor. Okay, this one's really important. If you've got your money saved, your credit score is good, you've got the income to buy a home, don't go financing a new car. People do that. They'll go out and buy a $40,000 car a week before their loan's supposed to close, and then suddenly they can't qualify. So don't open any huge lines of credit right before you're buying your home. In fact, don't open anything immediately before you're buying your home. If you're just getting ready to start preparing to buy a home, then it's okay to open a couple of lines of credit with minimal loan amounts. There are several credit bureaus and they all use different algorithms to determine your score. The basic score range is between like 350 and 850. Obviously, the higher the better. To get an idea what your score is, you can download a free app that I use all the time that I love called Credit Karma. With Credit Karma, you can check it every week and it checks your score for you, but it doesn't mess up your score because you're checking it yourself. So you can see if your score's moving in the right direction. And it gives you some ideas on how to improve your score. So I recommend that app, and they didn't pay me to say that. What's the biggest obstacle millennials and others are having in buying their first home? I hit up my friend Alex and asked her what her biggest concern was.
I don't have enough for a down payment. Do I have any options?
The money to get into a house, the down payment, and the closing costs. Obviously, the more money you have to put down, the lower your payment's going to be. The easier it's going to be to qualify for a home and get the home you want. So my biggest piece of advice out of all of this is start saving now. Live well within your means and save as much as you can, starting this very second. Cut out the lattes, cut out the Starbucks, cut out the junk food and eating out, brown bag your food, and start saving money. So how much do you need to get a home? Well, you can get a basic starter home here in LA Ventura County for about $400,000. You can probably get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, depending on the area. The farther away you are from like downtown LA, the cheaper it's going to be. Now, how much do you need? Well, for a $400,000 home, you can get into a home with an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down. And that's about $14,000. Closing costs are going to be 2 to 3%, so that's about $10,000. So if you have $24,000 scraped together, that's enough for a down payment to get in a house. Later I'm going to talk to you about a program that I love called the Platinum Plan, which is a California program that grants you the down payment up to 5%. So that can seriously lower the amount of money you need to get into your home. So you can get in for as little as about $12,000 if you qualify for that plan. I'll tell you about it in a little bit. What's the second biggest concern millennials have to get into their first home? I asked Kelly.
So how much do I need to make a month to get into one of these houses?
How much is the payment going to be? On that $400,000 home, if you come in with a minimal down payment, your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and something called a mortgage insurance premium for an FHA loan, your payment's going to be $2,500 to $2,600 a month right now with the current interest rate, which is about 3.5%. As interest rates start to rise, which they'll probably slowly rise over the next year or two, your payment's going to go up a little bit, which is one reason why now is a pretty good time to get into a home because interest rates are at historic lows, even though prices are at historic highs. So it's kind of a balance. And what happens when interest rates go up, sometimes housing prices come down because people still have to be able to afford them. So your payment's $2,500 to $2,600 a month. You've got the down payment. So you think you can afford the house. Well, let's see if you can. For an FHA loan, your debt-to-income ratio has to be 45%. That means all of your debts combined, your credit card, your car payment, your house payment, everything has to be 45% of your gross monthly household income. That works out to be about $6,000 a month. So if your household income is about $6,000 a month, you can probably afford a $400,000 home. Obviously, there's a bunch of other factors. These are just rough numbers to give you an idea. I've been talking a lot about a loan I like a lot. That's the FHA loan. It's a government-sponsored loan available nationally. And it's a great loan because it allows you to get into a home for only 3.5% down. But there's always a catch. In fact, there's 2 catches for this loan. The first catch is there's a maximum loan amount. For Ventura County at the moment, the max loan amount is $604,000, just under that. For LA County, it's $625,000. So if you're buying a home and you need to finance more than that, you have to come up with the cash yourself. There's a second catch, which is it requires mortgage insurance. For a $400,000 loan, the cost is about $6,800 upfront that gets rolled into your loan. Plus, there's a monthly payment of about $275 per month for the life of the loan. In addition, you may be able to qualify for down payment assistance with one of a number of government-sponsored down payment assistance programs where they give you the money for up to 5% of the down payment. A program available here in California is the GSFA Platinum Program. With this program, they grant you up to 5% of the down payment. Now, to qualify for this, your income can't be over $101,000. Your credit score's got to be at least 640. Your debt-to-income ratio has to be 45%. The maximum loan amount is $417,000, and it's got to be owner-occupied. If you meet those requirements, you may qualify for the Platinum Program and get up to 5% as a grant. They give that to you, you don't have to pay it back. So that can make it huge for getting into your first home. So can a millennial get into a home in 2016? Yeah, but you got to be smart. The first thing is stay out of debt, live within your means. That's something that's going to keep you happy your entire life. Junk, toys don't bring you happiness. What brings you happiness is peace, not having to stress about massive bills. So start living like that now. Save up money, as much money as you possibly can for your down payment so your payments are lower. Keep your credit score clean, make your monthly payments on time, and get your income up. If your income's not high enough, then improve your skills. You can learn virtually anything online. Get your skills up and get your income up. And I promise you can get into your first home. Good luck. If you have any questions, give us a call. And here's a couple last words of wisdom from Jenny.
The best advice I would give someone that's wanting to get into their first home is try to stay out of debt. If you can just avoid charging up your credit card, staying out of debt, and then setting some money aside. So if you could try to save a little bit of money and stay out of debt, You will be so glad you did when you go to buy your first home.